Psychic, sleepwalking, and wine. Yeah, we got some different subjects for this week's comments, but don't worry, we still have rudeness, we still have demand, and of course, we still have entitlement. And it's Saturday morning, which of course means what every cruiser wants. Good Saturday morning, everybody. Chris here with High Seas Cruising, and welcome to this week's video. And yep, we are back with 3 new cruise comments for you this week. And we got some subjects that, hey, let's be honest, we have not heard these subjects before. We haven't talked about psychics, we haven't talked about sleepwalking, and we haven't talked about wine. But we're going to talk about it today. So let's get into the comments and find out what is really bothering these people about cruising and what needs to change. First up, you cannot sell things or solicit other cruise passengers on board cruise ships. You can't sell Girl Scout cookies, you can't sell books, you can't openly gamble amongst cruise passengers in public. There can be no type of service where money exchanges hands between cruise passengers while on board a cruise ship. It is against the rules, and yeah, this includes people coming on board and giving you psychic readings for money. Now, I don't know about y'all, but me personally, I have never once booked my cruise and said to myself, wow, I hope there is a psychic on board this cruise ship that's going to charge me to tell me my future. Has anybody else ever booked a cruise and hoped that that would be true? Well, there is at least one person out there that, well, they're upset that this is not true. They know a psychic. This psychic should be allowed to come on board the cruise ship, and Carnival Cruise Lines, well, they are wrong for telling her no. So she is letting everybody know in a comment that they are wrong. But here's my question. If this person was truly a gifted psychic, well, wouldn't they have known ahead of time that the answer was no? I can attest that blank is a highly gifted psychic. I have seen her and her work. Please allow her to have a private space to work on the blank Carnival blank cruise. Blank usually charges blank per reading. On this cruise, she will offer to do it for half price. It is not fair or just to have told her she cannot do this. Now, whether you believe in psychics or you don't believe in psychics, honestly, it's irrelevant when it comes to this comment and to cruising because, well, it's just not allowed. You cannot come on, get a private space on the cruise ship, and then charge cruise passengers money. Against the rules, not going to happen, period. The cruise lines tell everybody who wants to come on board and sell something no. So they're not just singling out a psychic, everybody gets told no. Doesn't matter that she wants to offer half price. And at the end of the day, you know what? It is actually fair because if everybody's told no, that's called being fair and equal to everybody. Now, you guys are going to have to let me know in the comments. Would you even be interested in having a psychic do psychic readings on board a cruise ship, whether it's half price or not? Is this even something that anybody out there would actually want and pay for on their cruise vacation? It's not going to happen, but I am curious if anybody would actually go and do this. Next, we're going to talk about sleepwalkers on board cruise ships. Now, I'm not going to talk specifically about sleepwalkers because it's a real thing. It's a real condition. It does happen to people. And after reading everybody else's comments attached to this, seems like people that have sleepwalkers in their party that travel with sleepwalkers, they're well aware of how to handle it. They said it could be little things like an alarm on the door, a portable alarm that they can put up there that lets them know if they try to get out. Some said simply put a chair in front of the door. Some type of obstacle to prevent the sleepwalker from, say, leaving the cabin altogether and wandering around the cruise ship. Sounds like the people that have sleepwalkers or are sleepwalkers, they are taking accountability for themselves. They know it's an issue, they know it can happen, and they prepare for it. But there was somebody who probably new to cruising, wrote into John Heald over on his Facebook page and asked for some advice. Said, we're going on a cruise. We want to go on a cruise. We have a sleepwalker. What would you suggest? Do you have any advice? And he gave his advice. His advice was, well, maybe an interior cabin would be the best for you. Either that or an ocean view cabin. That way there's no balcony, no railing, no chances of falling over. That was his advice. And of course, there's somebody out there who does not like his advice. Somebody who says your advice is wrong. And well, I think the very first problem is why would you write into a brand ambassador of a cruise line seeking medical advice? Honestly, he's an expert on Carnival Cruise Lines, not on sleepwalkers. But that didn't stop this person from writing in this particular comment. John, your advice to blank is way off. Sleepwalkers might not be safe in an interior cabin. 2 years ago, my 12-year-old son went for a sleepwalk in the middle of the night on the blank of the blank ship. He was in an adjoining room with his sisters. They never heard anything with the air conditioning on. The door automatically closed and locked. He was discovered by the staff over an hour later. Suggest you do not give advice on something you have zero experience with. Sleepwalking and cruises are fire and ice. So I just want to be clear. This person had a sleepwalker that they put in a room different than theirs. This 12-year-old got up, went out of the cabin, and wandered around the ship for an hour before discovered by staff. But the two other people in the room with him, they didn't hear it because of the air conditioning. Well, how many cruises have very noisy air conditioning? The majority of them are actually super quiet. It's not like those obnoxious loud air conditioners you get in like a cheap motel, those ones that sit underneath the window. Those things can get pretty loud. But cruise ship air conditioning, yeah, no, not really that loud. And if he walked out his cabin door, we know cabin doors, they can slam shut. They're not quiet either. Those doors are, they're still pretty noisy. Even when you're trying to be quiet, they still can make a bit of noise. Now, I'm not saying the incident never happened. I'm not saying this didn't occur. But if you have a sleepwalker and you know that's in your party and you put them in another room, you're not watching them. So you're not watching your kid, basically. They have an episode and go wandering around the cruise ship. Clearly, you took no precautions. Instead, you said, well, air conditioning's noisy and the door, they automatically close. No sense of parental responsibility in that particular comment. I really have to say, before you attack someone else's advice, maybe you ought to think of the old saying, he who lives in a glass house probably should throw no stones. And finally, we're going to talk about wine on board a cruise ship. Now, we're talking about bringing a bottle of wine or champagne with you on embarkation day. And this particular comment, I actually learned something from. Not from the comment itself, but the reason why you can only bring one bottle of wine or one bottle of champagne with you on embarkation day. There's actually a historical reason for that. There is a cruise tradition that goes along with why they allow that. And it was something I actually did not know. But we have an upset cruise passenger, a platinum cruise passenger, who is upset that they are limited by how much they can bring on board the cruise ship. They don't think it's right. They don't think it's fair that there is a limit on the amount you can bring on the ship. They should be able to bring on whatever they want. And of course, they shouldn't have to pay a corkage fee either. Perhaps you can explain the lunacy behind Carnival's rule to only allow one bottle of wine on a 12-day cruise. This is the same as a 4-day Platinum Cruiser too, so makes even less sense why we are being punished this way. We should be able to bring on 2 or 3 bottles without also having to pay the cork fee. So yes, if you take a 4-day cruise, you get to bring on 1 bottle of wine or champagne per person. If you are taking a 12-day cruise, you get to bring on 1 bottle of wine and 1 bottle of champagne per person. And it does not matter what your loyalty status is. Just because you are platinum, which is not even the highest level, does not give you any extra right or privilege to bring on as many bottles, 2 or 3 bottles, just because you want to. The rule is 1 bottle per person on embarkation day. And if you take that bottle into one of the restaurants, dining area, whatever, on the ship, and they open that bottle for you, you are going to pay the corkage fee. If you don't want to pay the corkage fee, you can always open it in your cabin You don't pay for it there. So no, this person is not being punished because they're platinum and mistreated so, just because they too have to follow the rules. Now, for the interesting part, and the part I didn't know, is why does a cruise line allow you to bring on one bottle of wine or one bottle of champagne? Well, this goes back in history to the days of ocean liners. And it was tradition to bring on a bottle of wine or a bottle of champagne for the sail away party to celebrate the beginning of the voyage, the beginning of the journey. And cruise lines continue to honor this tradition by still allowing you to bring on the one bottle of wine or the one bottle of champagne per person. So if you have a 4-day cruise, you have one sail away party. If you have a 12-day cruise, you still have one sail away party, which is why you're allowed to bring on one bottle of wine or champagne per cruise. So it has nothing to do with your loyalty level. It has nothing to do with you being punished. It's not unfair. You shouldn't be allowed to bring on 2 or 3 because you're platinum. You're allowed to bring on one because it is the cruise tradition to have a bottle of wine or champagne for the sail away party. So my question, did everybody else know this tradition? Or is it just me that has learned that? Like I said, I honestly didn't know it before this comment. I thought it was just a cruise line rule, something they put in place. It actually is a traditional reason why they have that and why they allow it at all. Because chances are, if it wasn't tradition and wasn't something that honored all the way back to the beginning of ocean cruises, chances are the cruise line wouldn't let you bring it on at all. But what do you guys think? Should a platinum cruiser be allowed to bring on 2 or 3 bottles? Is that something they should be able to do because they are being punished if they are not allowed to do so? And that's going to be our video for today. You guys let me know in the comments below, what did you think about today's comment? Are these people right? Are these people wrong? Are they speaking for everybody out there? Should we have psychics doing business on cruise ships? Are cruise lines responsible for sleepwalking on board their cruise ship? And is it an unfair rule that that platinum cruiser could not bring on 2 or 3 bottles of wine on their cruise, whether it's a 4-day or a 12-day? Look, they're entitled to more. Let me know in the comments below whether you agree, you disagree, or maybe these people are just on a cruise of their own, at least in their own mind. Now, if you've enjoyed today's video, do me a favor and hit that like button. If you haven't done so yet, do me a favor and hit subscribe. It is free to do so. Helps our channel grow. Let you know anytime we put out a new video. Hope everyone out there is having a really great day. And like always, we will see you out on the high seas.